Amelia Parker had always found solace in the scent of antiseptics and the rhythmic beeping of heart monitors, a comforting heartbeat of routine amidst the chaos of the hospital. As a dedicated nurse in the oncology ward, her gentle demeanor was balm to the weary souls she encountered daily. But today, as she rushed down the fluorescent-lit hallway with her clipboard clutched tightly, she carried a heavy ache in her heart that had nothing to do with the demands of her job. "Amelia, you need to see this," a voice called from the nurse's station, pulling her from her thoughts. It was Sarah, a fellow nurse with a penchant for the melodramatic. Amelia approached, eager to distract herself from the gnawing worry that had taken root since she first received the news of Mr. Williams' declining health. The seasoned patient in room 204 had become an unlikely friend, sharing stories of his adventures and introducing her to his beloved dog, Rufus, through the many photos plastered on the walls of his room. His daughter just called, Sarah said, her brow furrowing. "She's having a hard time, especially with Rufus being alone at home. She can't handle both caring for her dad and looking after a big dog right now." Amelia's heart dropped. She knew how much Mr. Williams cherished Rufus, a scruffy little terrier with a spirit that mirrored her patient's. Their bond was evident in the way the elderly man's eyes brightened whenever Amelia took a picture of Rufus for him during her rounds. Without that furry companionship, she feared Mr. Williams' spirits would plummet even further. "I can take him," Amelia said impulsively, surprising even herself. "Just until things settle down." "Are you sure?" "You know the hospital isn't exactly dog-friendly," Sarah replied, a mix of concern and admiration in her tone. "Rufus will be fine with me. I promise," Amelia insisted, a resolute smile breaking through her anxiety. The thought of the little dog waiting impatiently at home, confused and lonely, was unbearable. By the time her shift ended, Amelia was already mapping out a plan. She envisioned Rufus bouncing through the open doors of her modest apartment, his tail wagging like a little metronome, filling every corner with warmth and vitality that she so desperately craved during her long hours of work. With each thought, a flicker of resolve ignited in her. This small act of kindness could strengthen the bonds of compassion and resilience they all needed in the face of uncertainty. When Amelia arrived at Mr. Williams' home that evening, she was met with the unfortunate sight of a darkened porch. Steeling herself for the worst, she gently knocked on the door. It creaked open to reveal Mr. Williams' daughter, Emily, a young woman with weary eyes and a face that held the weight of the world. "Thank you for coming," she said softly, and for a moment their gazes locked, an unspoken understanding passing between them. "I didn't know how to ask someone." Amelia stepped inside, following Emily through the dimly lit living room, until they reached the back door. There, between the scattering of autumn leaves and the fading light of the setting sun, was Rufus, standing sentinel with his little tail wagging energetically. His warm, gentle eyes sparkled with the same life reflected in the myriad of photographs pinned to a corkboard. "Oh, Rufus!" Amelia knelt, her heart swelling as the dog bounded toward her with uncontainable joy, licking her face and tail wagging ferociously. Here was the manifestation of kindness she so yearned to offer. As she took the scruffy dog into her care, Amelia felt an unshakable connection form, a shared defiance against the trials of their circumstances. The three of them, Amelia, Mr. Williams, and Rufus, were tethered together by love and a fierce determination to find moments of light in the shadows. Days passed, morphing into weeks. Rufus settled into Amelia's home, transforming it from a quiet sanctuary into a lively haven filled with barking, snuggles, and happy chaos. The dog became a comforting presence, easing the heavy load of her work and breathing life into her routines. She would often find herself laughing senselessly at his antics, his boundless energy juxtaposing the stillness that sometimes seeped into her heart after long shifts. But it was during a particularly challenging day in the hospital that the ripples of her small act began to reflect back to her. She had returned home exhausted, her scrubs clinging to her like a second skin, the weight of her responsibilities pressing heavily on her shoulders. As she collapsed onto the couch, Rufus snuggled beside her, offering an unwavering warmth. Then, the phone rang. "Hello," Amelia answered, recognizing Emily's voice on the other end of the line. "Hi, it's me. I just wanted to check on you," and Rufus. Emily's voice was brighter, more vibrant than their last conversation. "Dad's doing a little better. He's been asking about Rufus every day, and I think he'd like to see him soon." A pang of longing crossed Amelia's heart. Every day brought new complexities to Mr. Williams' treatment. Yet this small glimmer of hope, seeing his beloved dog again, might just be the encouragement he needed. "That would be great," Amelia smiled, feeling warmth spread through her at their newfound connection. "How about this weekend?" After hanging up, Amelia found herself glowing in the shared joy of anticipation, her heart light. She realized that through simple acts of kindness, her own burden had shifted. Not only was she nurturing Mr. Williams' spirit, but she herself was finding healing and support in the company of a dog who offered unyielding loyalty in a world where everything felt chaotic. In the days that followed, the three of them would reunite over joyful chaos, Mr. Williams chuckling at Rufus' playful antics, a burst of laughter that momentarily washed away their worries. The old man's eyes sparkled like they hadn't in weeks, and Amelia knew these moments would ripple outward, connecting the threads of kindness they were weaving together. And in the hustle and bustle of life's unpredictable journey, Amelia began understanding that nurturing kindness like the bond they shared with Rufus could illuminate the darkest of circumstances, sparking compassion where it was needed most. In this vibrant interplay of lives, she felt hope transforming into something palpable, building a community of resilience, support, and love. As they laughed and shared stories, Amelia felt the empowering force of connection guiding their journey, setting into motion an unfolding narrative of kindness that could reach far beyond their little circle. The weeks slid by like autumn leaves dancing in the wind. Each day blurred into the next, a blend of routine shifts, hard work, and the heartening chaos that came with having Rufus by her side. Amelia Parker had never imagined the profound effect that a simple act of kindness could engender, not just within the world of her patient, Mr. William, but in her own heart as well. The hospital buzzed with the energy of life intertwined with the trials of illness. As she pushed her way through the ward, her comforting demeanor and encouraging words had become a lifeline for both patients and staff. But as the days went on, the weight of Mr. Williams' illness took a significant toll on her. She could see the strain on his daughter Emily's face. Her quiet strength began to show cracks as she juggled her father's deteriorating condition and anxieties about leaving Rufus alone. One cold Thursday afternoon, Amelia was making her rounds when she spotted Emily, quietly sitting beside Mr. Williams in his room. She could discern a veil of tension hanging in the air, the silence punctuated by the occasional cough from the old man. Amelia exchanged a knowing look with Emily, who sighed and gestured for her to come closer. "I think Dad is starting to lose hope," Emily said softly, her voice quivering slightly. "I know it's been hard for him, but since we've had Rufus at your place, it's like he's just given up on everything. I'm afraid of what that means for him." "Rufus brings him so much joy," Amelia said with conviction, her mind racing. "I'll bring him back for a visit. A little reunion might just be what he needs." Emily nodded, a small flicker of hope lighting up her eyes. The emotional stakes suddenly felt heavier as Amelia caught a glimmer of the family's struggle. This was more than just about a dog or a patient. It was about connection, affection, and the fragility of life, of love itself. Within a few days, Amelia planned the visit. She texted Emily to ensure they were ready for the little reunion, excitement mingling with uncertainty as she prepared Rufus. The dog leaped around her apartment, bringing a smile to her face as she envisioned the joy he would bring back to Mr. Williams. On Saturday morning, the air was crisp with the promise of a brisk fall day. Amelia excitedly loaded up Rufus in her old hatchback, his tiny body practically bouncing with energy and anticipation. As they drove to the hospital, Amelia could hardly contain her eagerness to witness the spark that she believed Rufus would reignite in Mr. Williams. Entering the patient room, she was met with the sight of Mr. Williams resting in bed, his frail body seeming smaller than it had just a few weeks ago. Emily sat beside him, flipping through a dog magazine, her brow furrowed in concentration. Amelia's heart raced. This was not just about bringing Rufus to visit, this was an opportunity to weave together the threads of their lives that had almost frayed. "Guess who's here?" Amelia exclaimed, stepping in, holding Rufus's leash. The dog perked up, tail wagging furiously, and bolted from her grasp as he leapt onto the bed, showering Mr. Williams with affectionate licks. The man's eyes widened, a glimmer of surprise transforming into unmistakable delight. "Rufus," he exclaimed, laughter bubbling forth from his lips as he lifted a trembling hand to pet the little dog. "My boy, you're here." A surreal warmth enveloped the room as laughter erupted, a vivid contrast to the quiet weight of sickness that had lingered for too long. Emily's smile broke free, and though it was momentary, they knew it was a priceless gift gifted through Rufus's antics. "See, Dad? He hasn't forgotten about you," Emily beamed, laughing as Rufus enthusiastically burrowed into Mr. Williams' lap. For a while, the atmosphere transformed into that of an ordinary family visit. Stories were shared about Rufus's outrageous habits, his tendency to sneak under the kitchen table at Amelia's apartment during dinner, or his relentless searches for any stray sock left unprotected. Mr. Williams' spirit brightened, his laughter washing away the heaviness that had resided in the room for so long. Amelia felt the encroaching shadows of doubt dissipating. Yet, amid the joy, a flutter of anxiety nagged at her mind. She could see the toll that Mr. Williams' illness had on Emily, how her eyes carried the weight of unspoken fears. While they were breathing tentative moments of joy, Amelia was aware of the fragility of their happiness. Days turned into weeks, but with every visit to the hospital, the family had begun to find solace in small moments of laughter fostered by the presence of Rufus. However, the inevitable challenges loomed like storm clouds on the horizon. Mr. Williams' health continued to decline. The hospital staff were dedicated, but the reality of his condition weighed heavily on everyone. "This cancer is not giving him a fighting chance," a fellow nurse whispered during a particularly long shift. Amelia felt a familiar pang in her heart. The emotional stakes were reaching their peak. And yet, amongst the challenge emerged new opportunities to forge genuine connections. Ruth, a fellow nurse with years of expertise handling delicate matters, approached Amelia one evening. "You know," she began, "I've seen the effect Rufus has had on Mr. Williams and Emily. It's remarkable how such a little creature can provide comfort in such dark times. But remember, your well-being also matters in this dance of compassion." Amelia nodded, but a sense of uncertainty gnawed at her. She had become an intrinsic part of this family, yet she was also aware of the toll their journey took on her own emotional health. She would come home carrying the weight of unexpressed fears and uncertainties, even as Rufus became an unwavering source of light and love in her life. Fear gripped her heart when she received a late-night call from Emily. "Can you come to the hospital? Dad is. He's unresponsive." Amelia dashed out of her apartment, Rufus instinctively sensing the urgency as he sat in the passenger seat, his eyes scanning her face. The ride felt like it lasted a lifetime, her heart racing as she felt a pit of dread settle deep inside her. Once she arrived at the hospital, she rushed to Mr. Williams' room only to find Emily being consoled by a few close relatives, while the faint beeping of monitors surrounded them like a discordant choir. She approached cautiously. "Amelia," Emily whispered, tears glistening in her eyes. "He's been so quiet. The doctor said they want to keep watching him, but I can't shake the feeling it's worse." Dread washed over Amelia, and she reached for Emily's hand, squeezing it reassuringly. "I'm here for you," she said, her voice soft but steady. As days blended into a blurred haze of tension, Amelia noticed the emotional strain building within Emily. Finally, one morning after another restless night, she knocked on the door of Mr. Williams' room. Emily was already there, her fatigued gaze fixed on her father's pale face. "Amelia," her voice quivered, laced with fear. "It's getting worse, I think. I need to have that conversation with him, and with the doctors. I can't bear the thought of losing him. Not without knowing." Amelia felt a swell of empathy and respect for the weight Emily bore. Would you like me to be with you? I can help you figure out the right questions to ask. Always pragmatic, always prepared to lift others. In that moment, she realized that her role wasn't just as the nurse who had adopted in more ways than one, she was also part of a family circle that needed to be brave together. Would you? Emily blinked, an unguarded plea reflecting in her eyes. Together, they approached the doctor, the earnest conversations that followed heavy with truths and realizations. They spoke frankly about the care plan, treatments, and options moving forward. It felt like a heavy fog drifted through the room, but at least they were together, navigating through it hand in hand. In moments of vulnerability, Amelia allowed herself to lean on Emily. Their bond solidified through shared fears and hopes. They stayed connected through video calls and messages, while Mr. Williams remained in the hospital. Amelia guided Emily through the process of selecting hospice care, pulling together the fragmented pieces of their lives to maintain dignity against the darkness that loomed. Despite the heartache, the ripple effects of kindness transformed into moments of clarity and deep conversation. Emily began to open up about her own fears of losing, not just her father but the familial legacy that bound them. Amelia listened intently, sharing her own experience, how she had feared losing her own family while pursuing her calling in nursing. Days melted into one another, but their mutual support fortified each of them against the looming shadows. Then, one early morning just before Thanksgiving, an unexpected message slipped through Amelia's phone screen, a comforting image of a small pumpkin pie subtly lit by candlelight. It was a photograph from Emily's kitchen, a call to gather together in honor of their bond of grief and gratitude. Each of them felt the flickering warmth of hope even in these hardest moments. Through laughter and tears, they honored Mr. Williams, the man who had shown them the importance of each small joy and the way love could transcend illness. They convened at the hospital, a cozy gathering filled with shared memories. Rufus was there as the centerpiece of joy amidst introspection. Each joke, each shared memory rekindled the spirit of Mr. Williams while simultaneously letting go of the fear lingering behind them. And while sadness lingered, each laugh was a clear signal that kindness had, once more, forged a network that would transcend just one family. As they began to reminisce, Amelia realized that kindness could transform grief into connection, acceptance, and ultimately love. It was amid these fleeting moments they each found strength, solidifying the ties they shared, lightening the burdens that threatened to anchor them down. Gratefulness coursed through her, for a fragmented family beginning to knit together once more. In the days that followed, the connection that had blossomed amidst trials only deepened as she continued to share cozy evenings with Rufus and Emily, sipping tea on the couch, sharing memories that were sometimes bittersweet and always uplifting. Together, they formed a collective resilience, infusing their lives with light even when the night seemed dark. In every gesture of kindness, every laugh, and every shared story echoed through their hearts, signaling hope and healing amid uncertainty. They learned that through the darkness, compassion could ignite connections that empowered them to stand together. And as Amelia snuggled with Rufus on the couch, she thought about Mr. Williams and the journey they collectively seemed to embark upon. Grief reared its head now and then, but love remained steadfast, guiding them down countless paths where triumphs and connections blossomed. The kitchen was filled with laughter, and Amelia felt the pieces of her emotional landscape shifting, reminders of the importance of shared journeys that continued to shape her. As they filled their hearts with gratitude for the small moments, Amelia silently hoped they could each embrace the lingering sweetness of life, to always carry those memories of joy and kindness wherever their journeys led. The sun peeked through the sheer curtains of Amelia's cozy apartment, casting gentle rays across the room and illuminating the chaos that had become her sanctuary. The lively barks and playful thumps of Rufus echoed through the halls, a constant reminder of the bond that had blossomed amidst the storm of uncertainty that had once surrounded her. This little dog, once merely the companion of a patient, had woven himself into the very fabric of her life, embodying the spirit of connection and love in its purest form. As she slipped into her scrubs, preparing for another day at the hospital, she took a moment to reflect on how far she had come since first welcoming Rufus into her home. the fraught days that had once shrouded the hospital room of Mr. Williams now felt like distant memories, each one intermixed with laughter, tears, and the discovery of the depth of compassion that dwelled within each of them. The dog had carried laughter back to Mr. Williams, reminding both him and his family that joy could coexist with sorrow. Amelia arrived at the oncology ward with her usual determination, but today was different. There was an undercurrent of excitement in the air. Part of it was due to the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday, but it was also because of a special event that had been organized, a gathering to celebrate patients and their families, highlighting the journey of resilience they had all undertaken together. She couldn't help but feel a twinge of anticipation as she pondered the potential for connection radiating through that room. As the day unfolded, the atmosphere buzzed with warmth and camaraderie. Amelia glanced around the conference room adorned with vibrant autumn decorations, handmade turkeys crafted by the patients, pumpkin spice candles flickering gently, and a montage of family photographs that filled the space with life. There was laughter mingling with the aromas of turkey, stuffing, and pies, all a celebration of togetherness that recognized each battle fought and won, regardless of the outcome. The door swung open, and in walked Emily, Mr. Williams' daughter, a radiant smile lighting up her face. Rufus, at her side, bounded forward, nearly knocking Amelia off her feet with joyful exuberance. The moment felt surreal, as if her heart were being knitted back together piece by piece. "Amelia, we brought something for you," Emily called out, extending a beautifully wrapped present adorned with shimmering ribbons. "It's our way of saying thank you for everything you've done over the past few months." Curiosity bubbled within her as the room grew quieter, the anticipation palpable. It had never been about recognition or reward for Amelia. The small, selfless acts of kindness had fulfilled her more than any accolade ever could. With Rufus wagging his tail, she carefully unwrapped the present, revealing a handmade photo album. Opening the album, she was met with an explosion of color and love, pictures chronicling Mr. Williams' journey intertwined with her own. Each page turned revealed snapshots not only of her time with Rufus, but of significant moments that captured the essence of community: a family gathered around a hospital bed, a laugh shared over dog antics, and Emily holding Mr. Williams' hand, smiles breaking through the clouds of despair. It was not just a collection of images, it was a tapestry of their shared lives, tied together by resilience and hope. "Emily, this is incredible," Amelia said, overwhelmed by the thoughtfulness and the love poured into the gift. Tears prickled at the corners of her eyes as she turned to see Rufus looking up at her, his big brown eyes full of warmth and companionship. "We wanted you to know how much you mean to us," Emily continued, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "You saved my father's spirit when he felt the most lost. You became part of our family, and will forever be grateful." Amelia thought back to the hours spent alongside Mr. Williams, how each shared laugh and story had created an unbreakable bond. The kindness she had poured into his care and the decision to take Rufus in had transformed her as much as it had him. The light they had ignited within each other was now illuminating the lives of everyone present. "That's what kindness does," Amelia said softly, glancing around the room at the families and fellow staff members who had forged their connections through shared trials. "It ties us together in ways we can't always see. It builds bridges and reminds us that we're never truly alone in our journey." The rest of the gathering unfolded around them, infused with shared stories, laughter, and moments of reflection on the beauty of kindness that had brought them together. Patients shared their victories, big and small, while families reminisced about the bonds formed in the most unexpected places, like a hospital ward where hope had flickered like a candle against the darkness. As Amelia watched families embrace and hear the stories interwoven with gratitude, the impact of each small act of kindness became evident. It was a reminder that making a difference didn't always require grand gestures. Sometimes it unfolded in beautifully subtle ways: a patient sharing a smile, a nurse lending an ear, or a dog bringing endless joy amidst struggle. As she returned home that evening with Rufus trailing closely behind, the weight of the day felt lighter. The photo album sat on her kitchen table, reminding her that small acts of love nurtured connections that could reach beyond her wildest imaginings. The meaningful relationships she had forged within those hospital walls flourished, weaving a remarkable tapestry of kindness that would continue to bloom even as seasons changed. Rufus curled up at her feet as she settled in on the couch, his presence offering reassurance. The tranquility of her home filled her heart, and Amelia felt empowered. She began to realize that the journey of kindness she had embarked on was not an isolated event, but rather a lifelong commitment to be a guardian of hope and compassion for those around her. Days turned into months as the seasons danced from winter to spring, and Amelia devoted herself to her nursing work with renewed vigor. Mr. Williams was moved to hospice care, and while his health deteriorated, his spirit remained buoyed by the love that enveloped him. Amelia made it a point to visit him regularly, bringing Rufus along to brighten his spirits. Their shared laughter became an elixir that eased the fangs of fear for everyone involved. As they gathered for a birthday celebration for Mr. Williams, the room buzzed with warmth, love, and bittersweet happiness. Emily organized an intimate gathering, inviting close friends and family, along with Amelia and Rufus, to celebrate the life and love they had shared together. It was a celebration tinged with sadness, yet buoyed by a collective spirit of gratitude for the love that had been expressed through acts of kindness. As Amelia gazed around the room full of familiar faces and treasured memories, she felt a profound sense of purpose. Rufus, nestled comfortably at her feet, added a scale of comfort, reminding her of the path they had forged together. Everything around her pulsed with connection, the kind of connection that flowers when kindness is sown. As the evening wore on, she joined them in singing Happy Birthday, her voice mingling with the echoes of joy, whispers of encouragement, and moments filled with sincerity. Williams, though frail and weary, beamed with pride, surrounded by the love of his family and friends, the room lit up by the spirit of kindness that had engulfed them all. "Thank you, Amelia," Mr. Williams whispered later that night amidst the dimming light, his hand wrapped around hers, "for taking care of Rufus and for being there for us. You've made this journey bearable." "Just like you've made it worthwhile for me," Amelia replied, her voice thick with emotion. "Your strength has inspired so many, and the love shared here today has reminded us all of what truly matters." Months turned into seasons, and Amelia continued to carry the lessons she had learned deep within her heart. She became increasingly involved in community outreach, drawing inspiration from her experiences in the oncology ward to advocate for kindness in the world. Each act of care she extended forged ripples in the lives of countless others. In time, Rufus became a part of many of her nursing visits, bringing joy and a sense of belonging to others who needed it most. The small acts of kindness she had committed to blossomed and expanded, creating a network of hope that intertwined many lives. As summer painted the world in vibrant colors, Amelia found herself volunteering in a local shelter, helping to pair dogs with families. She learned that kindness could extend beyond the walls of the hospital. And with every adoption she facilitated, she felt a sense of purpose that echoed the work she had done alongside Mr. Williams and Rufus. Amelia became a guiding light for new adopters, helping them understand the importance of caring not just for animals but for each other. Her passion ignited conversations around the transformative power of kindness, spurring others to embrace the idea that their actions could be a lifeline for someone in need. Through it all, her love for Rufus remained steadfast, a constant reminder of the journey they had embarked on together. The lessons of kindness and compassion were not just stories to tell but lived experiences that continued to shape her. Each wag of Rufus's tail brought warmth to her heart, each morning with him a gentle reminder of life's beauty. As the first crisp notes of autumn began to settle in, Amelia found herself attending a local community event, inspired by the kindness shared within the hospital's walls. With Rufus leashed at her side, she mingled with neighbors and friends, their laughter echoing in the air as they exchanged stories and experiences. "Amelia," a familiar voice rang out. It was Emily, now the focus of her own community initiatives aimed at raising awareness about cancer treatment processes and supporting families through their journeys. The light in her eyes was infectious as she filled Amelia in on the progress they had made together. We're planning a fundraiser for the hospital next month, Emily revealed, her enthusiasm contagious. A dog walking event. I would love for you to participate with Rufus. It's a way to celebrate the joy you brought to my dad's life and to bring our community together. The idea lit a spark in Amelia's heart, an opportunity to blend the passions that had guided her through challenging times and meteorically connected her to those she had grown to love. They dove into planning the event together, realizing that every step taken would not only honor Mr. Williams' legacy but also spread awareness, hope, and joy throughout their community. On the day of the event, the park was transformed into a haven of connection. It buzzed with laughter, wagging tails, and smiling faces, all walking for a cause. Amelia led the way, Rufus trotting happily beside her, embodying the resilience that had fueled their journey together. Each participant's story was framed by the shared love of companionship, not just with their animals but among each other. The community came together, forging bonds that would sustain long beyond that day, each wag of a tail echoing with reminders of kindness and compassion. As Amelia glanced around, her heart swelled with gratitude. This journey had morphed into so much more than dementia and illness. It was a celebration of life, the beauty that unfolded through every shared moment of joy, every act of kindness that rippled outward like waves in an ocean, creating bonds of love that uplifted their spirits and embraced their deepest vulnerabilities. At the end of the day, as the sun settled into hues of gold and crimson, Amelia stood with Emily and the residents of their little community. They exchanged happy smiles, hearts aglow with the warmth of a shared mission. Together, they had created a vibrant tapestry, a living testament to the transformative power of kindness, connection, and love. And as the laughter continued to echo through the park, Rufus rolled around in the grass, chasing after the remnants of fallen leaves. Amelia felt fulfilled, knowing that each wag of his tail carried whispers of hope and joy, a promise that no matter how difficult the journey, they would always find their way home through kindness, compassion, and the connections they had forged together. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with memories of warmth and light, Amelia knew that kindness would continue to ripple through her life and the lives of those around her. It was a promise she would carry forward with every patient she met, every family she supported, and every dog that needed a loving home. The journey was only just beginning.